Right now, Richard Linklater joins me in Studio Q. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So this is a movie that draws on your real-life experience, playing college baseball. What is your favorite memory about that?
Well, gosh, it was hard to locate one memory. I think even though, I was there on a scholarship playing baseball, I think the movie represents kind of my best memories, which isn't really – the baseball's great, but it's really the camaraderie, the bonding, the team. I think if you ask any athlete, even someone who just retired, or what was their favorite memory, what do they miss about playing sports, they'll never say the games. They'll say, oh, the guys, the locker room, the fun, the camaraderie, the just being on a team.
Is that what you first fell in love with baseball, like as a kid?
I think I like playing the game. I played all sports, baseball, basketball, football. But by the time I was older, baseball seemed to be I was just best at it, I guess. Mm-hmm. But I just always liked hitting the ball, running around. I was always fast.
Pure love of the game.
Yeah. I just loved it. Something I was always could do. I think most athletes, and I sort of wanted to study that in the movie, that all the guys are good. By the time you have a college scholarship, you were the best guy at your high school, and there's a level there, but it's also very competitive. A lot of the humor in the movie is kind of these guys' pathological competitiveness, whether it's playing Nerf ball or ping pong or flicking knuckles or drinking or anything, taking bong hits. Everything's kind of a competition, and that permeated the house I lived in with these guys. It was like, everything seemed, and I was kind of like, it was so childish, but really kind of funny. And it was one of the things that I remembered years later as I thought about the movie. I said, oh, yeah, everything was a competition. So that's all over the movie.
How did you relate to that as a college athlete? Like, did you have that level of competitiveness?
Certainly. Yeah, I have. I still do. And I don't, it's not my best quality by any means. And my whole life kind of avoids that because I don't think of the arts as competitive at all. I really don't. It was such a relief to get out of a world where it was that kind of base competition, zero-sum competition. The arts is so, just, I don't know. It's not that.
It's very personal.
It's personal. You're just trying to actualize yourself and make the best art you can. And, someone else's victory isn't your defeat the way it is in sports. Mm-hmm. It was very communal, very supportive. I really loved it. Where sports is like even your own teammates, if you're competing for the same position, they don't, they'll never say it out loud, but they don't mind if you get hurt or you fail. They're just going, okay, well, then I'm starting now.
Well, that's kind of fascinating though, because you still have that competitiveness within you, but you try to run away from it.
I have tried, but if you get me on a ping pong table, it is out. It is very present. It will show up, and people who know me kind of make fun of it. But that's really, there's just a few areas that rears its ugly head, but I try to have fun with it.
Well, a lot of your films are about looking back at the past and how the past shapes us. Why was now the time for you to revisit your college years?
Wow, this is a film I've been trying to get. I had the idea in like 2002, so it's been that long since I've been contemplating it. I made this high school film that came out in 93, Dazed and Confused, and this is kind of a follow-up to it. I don't know what took me so long. Had I done it back then, I would have been ready for it. I think I had less to express, or I guess looking back, my high school years I had more mixed feelings about, so I dealt with that earlier in my career. In college, looking back, it was more fun. I don't think I had any demons, less demons floating around those years.
Interesting.
But I was thinking about it, and to me, developmentally, it's such a significant moment in your life. So I guess as I thought of my own life, I said, yeah, what was that? High school, you're escaping all the restrictions, the confinement, how you feel, you're living at home, school and everything. College is very different. To me, the metaphor was, well, what to do with all that freedom? You're, in my case, you're 18, but you're being treated like an adult. You can stay out all night. You can eat and drink whatever you want. You can, you're making kind of adult decisions. And I felt like, life's sort of starting. Everything, what I'm studying, who I'm hanging out with, it felt like the stakes were kind of higher and on me too. It's like you can kind of blame your life before, but here it's like, these are my decisions.
For the very first time.
I don't have to be here. I could quit school and go get a job if I wanted, so it felt like freedom was the overarching feeling.
Well, that's what struck me most, I think, about the film was that here's a guy, the main character, Jake, in a time of transition. He belongs with his colleagues on the baseball team, but he also doesn't belong.
Not yet.
Not yet.
He hasn't earned his way in. Mm-hmm. As a freshman, there's that kind of initiation going on. And you have to kind of earn your spot on the team, not just physically as a player, but kind of spiritually, mentally bonding. We see in 2 cases of the team, 2 of the players have sort of run afoul of the bonding rituals. Maybe they didn't go drinking with them. Maybe they'd done something to separate. They're too competitive. Niles, the kind of crazy pitcher, and then Buter, one of the more country guys, he's on his phone. He's on the phone all the time to his girlfriend. So he probably didn't go out with the guys. So Jake realizes early on, no, you better. They're all getting in a car and going, you better go with them, just to sort of bond. He picks up on that social cue.
But Jake is also figuring out whether he fits in that sports world altogether or in another world of artists, which I thought maybe paralleled your story.
Yeah, to me that didn't all. This is kind of my college distilled down into one long weekend before classes even start. But that's what it was for me. I remember a world opening up, meeting actors and people in the drama department. I was an English major. I was always a writer, so English major kind of guy. But it was fun to suddenly meet performing artists, dancers, and I felt like I started to find a second home there, which was kind of pretty opposite the sports world. So those worlds kind of collide in the movie in a party near the end. They're used to their kind of keg party mentality, and suddenly they go to an arts party, which they're really kind of fish out of water, but it's fun. They adapt, themselves to it to some degree. But for Jake, it's weird because
he kind of likes both worlds.
Yeah. And I think that's what college is for. You're sort of discovering new parts of yourself. You have that one professor, you just drift into a class, you don't even know why you take it. And that professor can change your life. You read a book, you're just so open to anything and exploration. I think you see that in a few of the characters that they're going to be the searchers who really use that time to develop.
I want to delve into that a little bit later, your experience of this whole new world opening up. But first, you delve into the culture of college sports in this movie, too. You see players hazing each other in the locker room. Somebody gets mooned in one scene. How much of that was from your own experience?
Well, some of the more extreme elements of that, some of that happened more in high school. And there's a scene where they tape the freshmen to a fence and hit baseballs at them. That happened to a friend of mine in Louisiana. That didn't happen. We had a cyclone fence with ivy growing on it, so you can't really tape guys to a fence. But that was funny. I just thought that was a funny looking thing. But actually, my school didn't have a lot of hazing. It was more like psychological intimidation by the older guys. There were only 3 freshmen on the team when I went in, and it was an upperclassman team, and it was just hard to.
Do you remember it being difficult for you?
Yeah, psychologically, it was quite an adjustment to be. Like I was saying earlier about, you've always been good your whole life. You've always been the best guy on the team. You go to college and suddenly, just by default, you're a freshman. You're kind of the worst guy on the team. They haven't even seen you play yet, but they're assuming you're not at their level. And it takes a while. It took me a full year to kind of get everyone's respect. I just got off to a slow start. It was just weird psychologically.
Well, it's also difficult to pull apart when you're a young person how much you love a thing kind of in a pure way and how much you love it because you've been good at it.
Yeah, you really have to. Our society pushes you, particularly as a young person, toward whatever you're good at. They never ask you if you like it, And that goes for sports especially, and then certain subjects. And, if you're just good at something, you get encouraged. So I remember as an adult at that time going, well, how much do I like this? Do I really like being out on a field from 1 o'clock in the afternoon till dark every day? And it was like, okay, well, I do like it, but I don't know, other worlds were opening up. I was thinking like, oh, I'd kind of want to be reading. What do other people do? Oh, they go to rehearsals and they workshop plays, and that sounds kind of fun too.
I heard one day in the outfield you were daydreaming about reading Dostoevsky.
Yeah, I'd read some short stories and I was like, God, I want to, but I don't have time to read the whole Crime and Punishment or something. Like, there's not enough time. So I was in search of that time, and I got it. I got it soon enough. I had this heart condition, so I couldn't play beyond my sophomore year. So my life changed pretty significantly. It was kind of like a career-ending injury. So my if there was any providence, it stepped in and said, okay, well, now you do have time to do that. And that's what I did for like the next 17, 18 years. I was falling in love with cinema, but I never looked back. Like I never read a sports page. I never watched another second of sports. I
It was
never
a clean,
picked up a
clean
bat.
break.
Yeah, I was making up for all that time I think I had invested there. It was just like I put whatever energy the kind of way I might approach that. You know how an athlete, you're always kind of in training, working out. I put that into film. I took a very rigorous, almost athletic approach to it, thorough, I guess. But it was just great to have all that time to pursue exactly what I wanted.
What did your teammates think when you started to go deeper into this love of the arts and writing and drama?
You never know what people think about you. But more recently, I've come in contact with a lot of my old teammates. Some of us kept up over the years. It's been a long time. But more recently, they all came to the screening. We premiered the movie in South by Southwest this year, and a lot of them were there, and they were saying, yeah, you were always kind of the guy who read a lot. You read a lot. We always remember you were always in your room reading. I thought I was partying. It's like, well, yeah, a little bit, but you were always reading too. So
But they didn't give you too much flack about it at the time?
Not too much. Yeah. Not too much. Well, I did just enough to be one of the guys, I'm pretty sure.
It's interesting because this is a very warm portrayal of college sports and that camaraderie. At the same time, most of the conversations we have now are about hazing kind of going out of control, about sexual assault and college sports teams and all of these sorts of things. Why did you want to focus on a warm portrayal of that environment?
Well, that's just how I remember it. These guys weren't really, the culture's very different. There's a lot of focus on kind of the darker side. I mean, the rape culture of certain sports, and it's grim, it's ugly. I never saw that. I'm being completely honest. These weren't dark guys, I don't remember that. It was and it was maybe the time too. It was kind of the end of the 70s. The movie takes place in 1980, before the 80s really got the just say no, abstinence only education. I can't help but think that the cultural backlash of the 80s has contributed to the confusion and a lot of the when you treat something like sex so unnaturally in the educational process that it kind of comes out in a strange way later, So I don't, I can't. I'm no authority or anything, but I just don't remember that. Being an issue back then.
In case you're just tuning in, you're listening to Q, and my guest is Richard Linklater. His new movie is a comedy about college baseball players. It's called Everybody Wants Some. Richard, I want to go back to this competitive versus artistic environment. For you, the arts are not competitive.
Not at all.
But are there parallels between sports and arts for you?
Oh, I think so, for sure, especially what I do. I would say an acting ensemble, especially in this movie. I've got 13 young actors, so I realized at some point, I'm kind of the head coach, and I'm putting together a team, and our goal, we have a team goal. In this case, it's not to win a national championship or beat anybody. It's just to make the best film we can. So that's there's something kind of pure and fun about that. But yeah, I think there is anytime you get a group together, a common goal, role playing, you see that in sports, but I think that's in the arts too. Mm-hmm. Just the way people organize themselves and rally around central goals and then have to get along and play their role on a team. I spoke of it pretty openly because here we were. There's not much baseball in the movie. There's only one scene on a baseball field, but it's so much of the culture, the competitiveness, the team. You see a team, even though they're partying all weekend, the movie's like one long party. It's also, if you look at the little cues underneath it, it's a team sort of mentally preparing themselves to try to win a national championship. Mm-hmm. The leadership is there. They want to win. They lost last year. You can just kind of feel it. And I remember that. These guys be, partying and drinking and having a good time. You're out there chasing women, going out every night. But then underneath it, there was this subtle thing about, no, we're good. We're going to win. So that was kind of an interesting thing to parallel. That there's that world too. But I see a lot of that preparation. Like I'm a real rehearsal oriented guy. I don't,
And that's something you potentially learned from sports.
Yeah,
preparation.
I don't just wing it. Preparation. You can never be prepared enough. Confidence has to be earned. All these little things. But I don't think I'd come off like an athlete, a jock to people over the years. For many years, I never even told anybody I had a sports background. I just slowly outed myself as my films went along. It's like, yeah, you have baseball. I'll just, oh yeah, I played a little baseball way back when, but you know, no one really knew it for a long time.
Well, I asked you how your sports friends reacted to you being an artist. How have artists reacted to your sports history?
I don't know. I don't know if they think it sheds some light on me. Someone says, "Oh yeah, that explains you. You're an ex-jock." I'm like, "What do you mean explains me? What is that?" You know, so many people have played sports. It's not a big deal. But I don't know. You can't really. That's just how it. You know, how you came into the world, what you know, the culture I grew up in, and all that. I think I was always a little jealous of people who had. It was just. You know, my parents weren't in the arts. You know, it wasn't the world. You know, I can't tell people how the town I grew up in, how far away the idea that you could make a living as an artist. You know, that's just was not on the career day, you know, option. But I know certain cultural niches where it is. You know.
So then, how did you come into writing and come to believe that you could have a career in this if it wasn't really in the realm of your possibility?
It was very slow. You know, I think it was around college time I got interested in theater, and I started writing some plays, and then, you know, you study careers, and I was an offshore oil worker, kind of an industrial worker, saving my money, and I just followed my passion. You know, I just wanted to write and make movies, and bought equipment, did it myself. But there were some paths, you know, some careers you could look at. Oh, then you make a film, and then maybe a film festival shows it, and maybe other people see it. And I could see that, but I wasn't really thinking of any one result. I just wanted to do it, you know. So
that can be really freeing, though, when you're not thinking about how do I make a career at this. You're just thinking, how can I make this thing that I want to make right now?
And that's a big difference between arts and the sports. Like, no one can tell you you can't make your art. No one can tell a writer you can't write, or a painter you can't paint, a musician you can't make your music. But they can tell an athlete, no, your career's over. You know, we don't want you to play at the next level, whether it's high school to college, college to pro. You know, 95% plus of college careers end right there. You know, you're just not going to go to the professional level. So it's over, you know.
But that does not happen in the arts.
Not at all. Not at all. It's a long life. You know, you get to keep trying and get better. And, you know, I was probably a little late bloomer comparatively.
You just made a movie about your time in college. What's the most important thing you learned about yourself through that?
And that, oh, wow. I don't know if it's one thing. That's a big question. The most important thing I learned. Well, I think to give yourself a break. I head into every movie not knowing exactly what I feel about that subject. I'm usually doing a movie because I'm exploring that era in my life. And like I said, high school was I was a lot more mixed feelings about high school. I think this college movie made me unabashedly accept the time and place of where I went to college and when I went to college, and I had to look around. I think it's the first time in my life where I go, oh, you know what? And I'm not by nature a real nostalgic person, but I look back and go, oh, 1980, that was a good time to be in college. Actually, I got lucky chronologically by birth year or whatever, because college, it was just I look at, you know, my daughter just got out of college. I have 3 nephews in and around college. It's a different world now. It's very expensive. In the United States, college is so almost prohibitively expensive. So you're mortgaging your future just to get this education. A lot more anxiety around it. The culture, I think, in the 80s, it makes me really examine when I was there and the culture shift. I think the Just Say No Reagan era of the 80s, they started kind of outlawing young person fun, you know, making curfews, upping drinking ages, you know, abstinence-only education. I keep coming back to that because there's something a little, I think, evil about that and its implications. So it became, you know, outlawing. Young people couldn't be in the cars together. You know, they made a law like, oh, you can only drive alone. You know, just like, That's the fun part about being young is driving around, cranking up the music. And so that all slowly goes away. So I have nephews who, they're not even itching to drive. It's just not fun, you know.
And so you're grateful you came along right
before
all of that.
Pre everything. And it was, you know, it was pre-AIDS, you know. So it was I look at it now as like a culture in transition and the end of something. And it was a great time musically, I think. The music was really fun at that time. So I kind of look back and go, oh, that was a good time. And I saw that through my cast, who were not even remotely born at that time. So they were discovering an era through this movie, and I saw how much they were enjoying it. Disco dance lessons and country dance lessons, and they enjoyed it. So I was like, yeah, that was fun.
Unfortunately, we only have a minute before we wrap up, but I have to say, people are going to be surprised to hear you say that you're not a very nostalgic person, given a lot of your output. And I have to ask you, I've read you say that you have a sort of writer's mind where you're outside of the moment a lot of the time.
I think so. Yeah.
So when you were in college, were you imagining this story? Were you outside of yourself a little bit?
I think so. I was always writing. At that point, it was a novel, or at some point a play. That I even wrote a play in college kind of based on the picture in the movie who's having the most trouble fitting in. I kind of wrote a one-act play about him and his father. His father visited, So I was kind of, what was around me seemed like material that I wanted to deal with and shape into something. But I think, can you be nostalgic for a period you didn't live in? Like I go back historically reading, I'm trying to make movies about places I never lived. So I think there is a thing about the past that's always there. It's more interesting, when it's your past. But I just like, these historical moments are very interesting also. So
it's been great having you here. Thanks, Richard.
Yeah, good talking to you, always.